I'm letting everyone build up a false sense of security.
Is that what's going on?
That's what I'm telling myself on the drive home.
Oh.
Time for the Angler Within podcast with Roy Bilby.
Roy, I'm heading out at 4 a.m. tomorrow morning.
Sounds like one of my starts.
Alexandria Bay.
Oh, man.
Going on a charter.
Okay.
And there's like 4 boats or 5 boats. There's 26 of us that are going. I only know 3 of the people. So we're going out. I don't
Well,
have
you'll know a bunch more by the end.
Yeah, well, we're not all on the same boat. We're all different boats, but I guess we're all going to eat together at lunch. Boat launches at 7:30, or maybe we meet in the parking lot at 7:30. Boat launches at 8, I guess.
Okay.
And then we're going for smallmouth and walleye.
Yep.
We eat lunch, back to the marina by 3.
Okay.
Total cost with tip for the captain was $230 a person.
That's pretty reasonable.
Is that pretty reasonable? So
Yes,
tell me
it is.
what I can expect going on, because I'm a guy that usually fishes by himself or with 1 or 2 other people. I don't usually go on a charter. I've been out on deep sea charters before, but never a freshwater charter. And this is different from like what Nick does, because Nick has his boat and whoever his client is.
Right.
So I'm going on a boat with there's 4 of us that are going to be on this boat together. Plus
Right.
the
You're
captain.
going on an actual charter boat.
Yeah.
Well, I have limited experience. I have a dear friend I fish with. His name is Doug Winans, and he does charters up on Ontario for the salmon and the lake trout up there. King salmon, the Atlantic salmon. And he spent a decade. And he's always told me I'm going to have to work until I'm in my mid 70s to get any kind of a retirement, because I retired when I was 30 and took a decade off. What he did was he lived in Ohio. He lived 3 hours from Lake Erie, and he would make that drive 6 days a week, round trip, to charter people for the walleye and the perch on Lake Erie. And in the winter, he ran a deer camp out of his house. And he told me one of his proudest accomplishments during that time was he led over 30 people to their first whitetail. So he's just a phenomenal outdoorsman, fisherman. And when he talked to me about those days, I could hear it in his voice. He was talking like he was talking about his long lost love. I went, oh, he's got it bad. He's going to be doing that again. And what 2 years later, he bought a boat, worked on it. A year later, he took it up to Ontario and started learning how to fish for the salmon up there. And he's a quick study. His first year up there, the guy who runs the marina started telling him, Doug, you gotta hang a shingle out, and start taking people out. This was a year when the bite was way off kilter and guys were going out and not getting fish. And that's tough when you're a charter captain to charge people and go out and not be able to get them on fish on different days. Don't worry about that on the St. Lawrence with the small.
Oh, I know. It's an amazing smallmouth fishery. In general, it's an amazing fishery. The only thing that's
world class.
The only thing that is concerning me is going to be the weather. It is the first day of a cold front. We are on the upswing into a full moon, but we're heading up to it, though, so it's going to be getting better each day.
Right.
Right? So will the full moon offset the cold front?
The cold front is the most immediate condition with the most direct effect. I hope in your case I'm wrong.
I'm expecting you to be right. That's what I said to my friends today. That said, we'll slay them. I'm like, don't plan on slaying anything, but let's get out there and have fun.
There you go. That's the right approach.
And here's the other part. These 2 guys. So I got invited by this one gentleman and another guy that's in this group that I know. They're in Verona and Cazenovia.
Oh,
so they're closer. I'm having to turn and burn 3 hours, but I think I'm actually going to get an Airbnb.
Yes, you are.
I'm going to get an Airbnb. Because I'm going to be too tired at 3 p.m. to drive back. There's no way.
Yeah, you are.
That's what I have lined up for me tomorrow. And I also wanted to ask you this question. Have you ever found yourself bartering for something roadside because you didn't have cash on you and they didn't take digital payment. So you bartered soft plastics to buy either produce or baked goods.
I have not done that, but I'm guessing you have.
I did that today. So I'll spin you a quick tale because you saw the beginning of this. This will all make sense to you. So
Okay.
at our recent fall invitational where we got to compete against each other again.
One more time.
Yep.
We'll touch base with that.
Sean's wife had gone to a local cider mill and got donuts and brought them back. And I ate the one. And I think you watched me like chasing them down to like get the second one. Were you there when I was chasing them to get the second donut?
Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted more of those because they were so good.
So good.
Oh, so bad for you, but so good. Oh my God, they taste so good. Those of you out there who are listening who are familiar with fresh, warm cider donuts
Oh, yeah.
in the fall, nothing compares to that except maybe apple pie with a scoop of fresh ice cream on it, vanilla.
And a wedge of sharp cheese.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Cheese is
Giddy
also
up.
amazing. Yeah, so giddy up is right. So, that's our cultural stuff around here. So
It
I
is.
had to go find this place. Willie's Farm. You been there?
Nope.
Ever heard of it?
No.
Me either. But she got it from Willie's Farm. So we're getting them a plug.
Go Willie's.
So I set it into the GPS and I head out there and there was a sign that was upside down with the arrow pointing the wrong way to get up the road where it was. I go up this road. I'm way out in the middle of nowhere in Skenevis.
Oh, there's a lot of middle of nowhere.
Yeah,
in
and
Skenevis.
there's a very strong Mennonite population out there too. So I drove towards the Target. Now, why I didn't just pay more attention, I don't know, but there was an Amish bake stand set up before you get to the cider mill.
Okay.
And I said, and I'm looking over all of his stuff, and this guy he's a character. Now listen, they don't like to have their photos taken. They're big on not having their photos taken. So I didn't. This guy had the craziest face. I'm gonna go back and get a photo of this guy, and I might use that as the cover for this. If I get it, you will see that is the cover photo for this. I'm gonna go talk to him and see if I can get his picture. But
You better ask.
I won't
permission.
sneak it. I won't sneak it. I want to get. I don't know if they have like an Amish lawyer that comes out, rolls up to your house. This is the second time I've gone off on Amish people on this podcast. People think I have a problem with the Amish. I don't, but I keep on having run-ins, and I don't mind them as people at all. But it's just funny because this is what happens. So I pull up, and I'm looking at all of his beautiful baked goods that are in this like fruit stand, vegetable stand style, thing on the side of the road. He's standing behind
Side
the
of
counter.
the road.
Yep. And I'm looking. He's got homemade donuts, glazed and plain, and he had chocolate chip cookies and these plates all bagged up. And man, did it
Oh
look good.
man.
It looked good. I said, "Let me guess, cash only." He said, "Yup." Like he had the yup, Pennsylvania Dutch, yup. I said, "Okay, all right, I'll be back." And I said, "Don't they have cider? Because I'm looking for the cider donuts." I thought he was the guy.
Yeah,
I
right.
thought he was Willie. I thought this was it. Because I was so excited about the donuts that I wasn't thinking straight. And this is the guy that I pull up to, and he's not the place. I said, "Don't
That's
they have
not the
cider?"
guy.
I said, "Don't they have cider donuts up on the hill, like up there?" And he's like, "No, not that I know of, no." So he's tricking me. I don't know if he's tricking me or if he said he wasn't from out here. But I turned around. Now I'm defeated because I have no money and I can't get any of my stuff. And I pulled up. I turned around and I pulled down in front of him and said, "I said, you fish? Yeah. Well, listen, you bass fish? Oh yeah." I said, "Okay."
Here comes the barter.
I said, "What are your thoughts on trading? I'll give you a couple plastics and you can give me a couple of what you got there in your stand." He said, "Well, let me see what you got." And I got it and I brought it over to him and he looked through it. I couldn't say no to like what he was picking out because he was nice enough to like let me like trade. I mean, I was at the disadvantage because I didn't have money, right? So I'm gonna having a barter with this guy. I should have just pulled him out and handed him off to him. But I let him pick what he wanted out of my box. And
Yeah, and I want to ask you why in the world you went out on a quest to buy cider donuts with no money.
because I don't carry cash that often. and most places
Oh,
take card.
right. Okay.
I just don't carry cash. I'm one of those guys that don't carry cash. In this part of the state, you need it still, clearly. But if you go to anywhere else you go, all my transactions are off my phone, Roy. I
Yeah.
tap
Yeah.
to pay everywhere.
Yep.
I don't, or a card. Now I use my phone. I'm starting to use my phone more often than my actual physical plastic to pay for things.
Yep. Because it's handy.
Yeah, I mean, it's just where it's at. But these businesses are not moving forward, and I'll get further into this as I continue this quick story.
Okay.
Now, mind
Quick?
you, everyone, again, this all goes back to the fall invitational we just fished in together, and I tasted a couple of these donuts.
Yeah.
So-
I'm waiting for the tie-in.
So the guy takes 3 packages of Yamamoto's on me.
Well, he took the high dollar.
Oh, he won. He definitely won, and he got like my bright green chartreuses, and he got 2 other ones I had. They were brand new. I hadn't even opened them up yet. He snagged them, but now I got a friend down there. So what I want to do, since he did rip me off, I'm gonna go down there because he lied to me and said it wasn't even there, and then I turned around, got back down to the main highway, and then I had my moment of clarity. And I'm like, no, I never even got to Willie's. I turn around, I go back up, I get to Willie's, I park, I go to the Cider donut trailer.
Yeah. They got cider donuts, and now you're fresh out of Senko's.
Yeah, right. But I got a car full of, and I got in the car and I was angrily eating the cookies. I'm like stuffing my face with chocolate chip cookies because I'm like, oh, this is just not going according to plan at all. I had this planned. I was gonna go. I didn't open until noon. I had this whole day planned. So I turn around, I go back up, I get there, I go to the trailer for the cider donuts, and it's cash only. So now I'm back into the. I didn't dare offer this lady any Senkos, and we did have an exchange over the fact that I said, you guys really should have. She goes, they don't have internet out here. I said, okay, you do have wireless out here, and you could make something happen. And then she gets to the crux of it. She says, it costs $3.25 every time you run those cards. That costs me that much money. Which is what's the truth, is what's coming out here. And I said, well,
Yeah.
then build it into my cost. Charge me $2 for a donut.
Yeah.
Set a minimum on what I can run my
every
card
other
for.
business
Yeah.
does.
Like, come on. So I had $1, and it was $1.25 for a donut. I gave her $1. I said, can you take $1? She goes, they're $1.25. And I'm like,
So give me one with a bite out of it.
and I was like, I said, I'm good for the quarter. I'll come back and I'll buy a dozen of these, which I did not do. I already had eaten all those cookies and a donut or two. And, I just can't win, Roy. Literally.
No, you can't.
So speaking of winning, back to it, the fall invitational, our final competitive hoorah for this summer for our group of people.
Hats
there.
off to Dave Miller.
No one can say his name properly. You just said Malor because you didn't know how to say it.
Malor.
It's Meller.
Meller.
I've been calling him Malor for the whole time that I've known him, and finally he said, that's not how you say my last name.
All
I
right,
called
then-
him
then
Maller.
let me-
It's Meller. I called him Maller, and I called him Malor also. I've called him both. So, Dave, sorry that we're so bad at saying your last name, but that is funny.
Meller.
That is pretty funny, though. He's laughing right now. That's okay.
I hope so.
Well, he laughed all the way to the bank because that guy caught 2 nice ones. We had a tough day. Once again, much like your time on the Mohawk, we were grinding, and I, for once, didn't get skunked, but that was a tough day of fishing.
Yeah, it was. Nobody, and we had 8 guys there. 8 boats were out. Nobody brought in more than 2 bass. Nobody, checked in to the group chat weighing more than 2 bass. Some people only caught 1.
For 3
So,
hours. For 3 hours of work.
I had 2, but my total was 3.75 pounds. I had a 1.4 and a 2.8, and they were both an hour apart. And I figured going in, I had a strategy. I figured Sean won last spring on a chatterbait, so everybody's going to be throwing chatterbaits. So I went the opposite way. I threw my spinnerbait, I threw a shallow crankbait, and I threw my Texas rig. I couldn't get bit on a Senko, but both bass I caught on a Texas rig with a Berkeley power worm in red shad, and it's just one of my bread and butter go-tos. Always puts them in the boat. And Dave caught 2, but he caught, what did he get, a 2.7 and a 3.11. He something like that, a 2.4 and a 3.11. That's what it was. He had two really good fish. But talk about Austin. He's 11 years old. Nick's son Austin caught one, but it was a 4.65.
And
So
I
kudos
think
to him.
that he tied his dad for Nick's big one that he got up at Henderson before too.
Okay.
I think mine was what? Was mine 4.7 or 4.6? I think I was 4.6.
Too many fish. I'd have to
A
go back
ton.
in my journal.
Yeah, go back and look. I'm curious for that. But we all in that same general area too every time.
Not me. I caught one, my first one there. My second one was way down the lake. So it was a good time. Got to use my John boat instead of a kayak. So everybody else was in a kayak except there was one canoe.
So the invitational means you can bring whatever boat you want. And we didn't
And
handicap your rods either. But
nope,
the classic you have to use
kayak it.
kayak, yeah. So
Fair enough. Fair enough. I have not yet begun to fish. But
I
I
love
want
that you're not winning.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. Like, I mean, this has actually been good that you haven't performed as a competitive angler really on this lake. You've been getting
I'm
smoked by the amateurs.
everyone
You're getting smoked by the amateurs.
I'm letting everyone build up a false sense of security.
Is that what's going on?
That's what I'm telling myself on the drive home.
Oh.
I'm trying to convince myself.
Listen, if you had won both of them, nobody would want
I-
you back.
I would never go back, right?
You know what I mean? So like,
I'm
we'll
building up
take it.
I'm building up a pool of acceptance. So
Even Sean didn't do that great either.
now he had two, but they were both small.
They were small. Mine was 0.91. I didn't even put it in because I thought it was too small. And then I caught nothing else. And then when I thought twice about it, I was like, I should still get a photo of this. My own ego was like, put a bigger number in.
Right.
Don't start off on that. Don't
Right.
start off. Hey guys, I caught a small one. You know what I mean? I didn't want to have that be. I've been skunking like a lot. That was the first. I finally caught some fish this weekend.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about what you put it in before our last podcast, what transpired after that, because I went out the very next day to try to get those last 28 fish I needed to break 38,000 since I started counting the bass I catch and release. And I went to Rexmere Lake because it was the dog days of the summer. Every place had warmed up. Bodies of water are low because we've had no rain and conditions are tough, like we saw on the river, like we saw on Crumhorn. So I went there because it's a high elevation. It's at 2,800 feet. It's way up there and it's spring fed. So it tends to run 8 to 10 degrees cooler than most other places that I generally fish. So it's a mountain lake and it's a natural lake. And the vegetation is good this year. The water clarity is kind of a little stained, but it's good. But it started slow. It took me just over an hour to get a limit to get the first five. And I went, man, I'm going to have to spend a lot of time here if I'm going to get the 28 I need. But the bite improved. It started to pick up. And the thing about that day was, again, I was catching so many more of the bigger than average fish. They've just had a growth spurt in that lake. Now, four things happened that day, four milestones. The first one was I caught my 28th fish that day, eclipsing 38,000, which was a huge milestone for me. That's counting bass since 1986, eclipsed 38,000, caught and released. 16 fish later, I broke 1,000 for this year. And then one of the fish I caught on my way to that 1,000 for the year was my personal best on that lake. Again, this lake did not have very many big fish years ago. And this record stood for, I went back to my records 25 years ago. I caught a 3-pound, 1-ounce largemouth in that lake, which far surpassed anything we'd ever caught there. I think prior to that, it was like 2.5 pounder. So a 3-1 was big, but I caught a 4-2 which eclipsed that record that had stood for 25 years by a pound and an ounce. That was the third milestone, 54 bass on the day. So anytime I go out and I break 50, depending on the fishery, I'll write that in my journal in red ink. That's a red letter day. So I had four major personal victories on that lake that day. But just to let you know how tragically human I can be, 2 days later, still in the afterglow of what an incredible day I had just prior to that, I said, you know what? I got my 1,000 for the year. I broke 38,000. I'm sitting good on my numbers. October, November is when I really crushed the smallmouth. And realistically, I can expect to catch 300 bass this fall and really add to that number. But it's tough right now, most other places. So I'm going to go crappie fishing and put some crappie in the freezer.
What's the largest jump you ever had between like summer to like end of year? What is the largest bump you ever had in bass?
This is pretty incredible, and it just happened a couple years ago. The first year that I was fully retired, I retired in October of 22. So 2023 was the first year, first full calendar year that I was retired. And for the 18 years prior to that, I had broken 1,000 a year while I was working full time and doing every other thing else that I do that is not fishing, and still managed to 18 consecutive years catching over 1,000 bass. So I said, now I don't have work in the way. I am retired. I set a goal. I'm always challenging myself. And that's a quick tip. If you want to get better, set goals, challenge yourself. It will improve you. I have, I'm not going to reveal his name, but you know the guy. He likes to say he wasn't achieving what he wanted to, so he he lowered his expectations, and now he's a higher achiever. I didn't say it the way he does, but that's the gist of it. But anyway, that year I set a goal of 2,000 bass caught and released. I wanted to see if I could do it, and I promised my wife I would only attempt it that one year. Win, lose, or draw, I would only go for that number once because I knew I was going to have to fish a lot
I'm
to,
only I'm only gonna do this one time, baby. I'm only
yeah,
gonna do this one time. I just to see if I can do it.
yeah,
And then it can go like this. When will it ever stop, Roy?
right. Well, I did it
So
once.
what? You
Can
get your
can I
2,000.
do it twice?
Next year you're gonna want 3,000.
You're really bad at her voice.
I don't really know her voice that well yet.
She supports me,
She does.
and
You're what?
she
Becky
does.
Bilby is great. Great lady.
Yep, she's awesome. She's the best. I'm blessed more than I deserve, but I'm aware of it. So I set a goal for 2,000, and I accomplished it. I got 2,104 in 2023, and despite unexpected, unplanned prostate surgery that almost eliminated the month of October, is when the smallmouth really turn on, and I have a lot of 50 and 60 fish days. And I went, this is going to kill me here. And I think I was at, what was that, 1,700 when that happened. But I ended up with 2,104. But the thing is, in going back and reviewing my numbers, I actually, I eclipsed over 1,000 bass in just over a 3-month period in the middle of that run. And I went, "Are you kidding me?" I was really knuckling. I was fishing 5 days a week, though. I knew this surgery was coming up, and I added up those, and I banked 1,000 bass in my journals in just over, it was under 100 days. It was like 96 days. It was just over 3 months. That blew my mind. I knew I was fishing hard. I was doing well, catching a lot of fish, but it blew my mind that I could get that many in that short a period of time, and I don't think I've ever done that before. But I was a man on a mission. So I'm really looking forward to this fall. And I'll tell you, I'll put it out right now. Here's what my goal is. Right now, I have 1,028 on this year. I'm waiting for October and November or when it's really going to kick in. And it's not unrealistic because I have the whole month of September. Would really like to get right around 1,500 this year because if I can do that, I only need another 1,500 next year to eclipse 40,000. And that's going to be such a huge milestone. So that's my long term goal for next year, get myself in position this year where I only have to catch as many or less than I caught this year. And hopefully, good Lord willing, and my health stays strong and I can get out as much as I'd like. I'd like to see if I can hit 40,000 before the end of 2026. But there's a lot of variables in there. Things happen,
Mhm.
things you don't anticipate. So that's my goal with everything going well. We'll see what God says about that, and he's in charge. So I'll see what happens. But I want to get back to that incredible day I had. 2 days later, I decide I'm going to go crappie fishing and just put some of those in the freezer. So I went to a lake. It's about a half hour away. I took my 4 ultralight rods, my 2 ultralight boxes, and I went with the goal of getting maybe 15 crappie to put another 3 packages in the freezer, get 15 good keepers. And that is so doable at this lake. And I went there, and this is, again, you've always said that I post some pretty incredible numbers, and I do, but I want to let you know how tragically human I insist on proving that I am to myself, much to my frustration. I go out on this lake and I go to one of my best pockets for the crappie, not expecting it to be good because the water on this lake was at least, I measured it, it was 36 inches down from the marks on the trees where the water usually sits, a full 36 inches. And one of my best spots is only in about 6 foot of water. There's a lily pad bed, but there's some deadfalls underneath them, and they get in there and mix with that wood. But you got to have the water all the way up. So I didn't expect it to play. But the very east end of that pocket does drop down, and I hooked a crappie there. I know it was a crappie. I could tell by the way he was pulling, by the way his head was shaking. I went, there's a crappie. And I'd been fishing about 45 minutes to get that first bite, and he pulled off. Never saw the fish, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was. I give up on that spot, cross to the other side where I have found them in big numbers before, and start fishing the loose cover there back from the shoreline because the water has receded. And I hook a largemouth who proceeds to jump and say, here's your jig back. So now I've lost 2 fish. I checked 3 more spots and pockets that always produce on this lake and drew blanks. So I crossed into the lower half of the lake because I've got some good crappie spots there. There's a railroad bank that runs across the back side of it, the north side, and that bank has got all kinds of brush and stuff in the water. Even with the water receded, it extends down. And I'm fishing deadfalls and bushes where I always get a few crappie, and it's a ghost town. So I cut over to my juice, my best spot there, which is a beaver lodge, where one day I set my boat there, and without moving it, I caught 73 crappie from that one spot without moving. And 30% of them were keepers. And I had a good bag that day. I go there and I'm not getting bit. So I'm going to work. There's a bunch of deadfalls on the bank leading out to a major point, and I'm fishing to that. And I hook a fish, bring it in. It's a little pint-sized bluegill. Well, there we go. I'm not skunked. I keep fishing. Long story short, I never found the crappie. After having an incredible day full of milestones 2 days prior, I go out and I can only muster one pint-sized bluegill for the morning. There's your fishing hero, Mr. Tragically Human. That was my day.
Well,
And that's fishing. That's why they call it fishing, not catching, like we
that's
said
just
in
you
the last
can't say that
podcast.
again because that was your intro line last time.
Yeah.
So
Well,
give me a different metaphor.
well, what would you suggest?
I would suggest sliding into Roy's DMs over on Instagram at all lowercase Roy Bilby.
I'll tell you everything I know about catching pint-sized bluegills.
Do you like how I slid that in there?
Yeah. But anyway, I want you to go out on your trip tomorrow. I know you got to get up early. I'll be thinking about you. You're going to catch some of the biggest smallmouth
Probably,
you've
yeah.
ever seen.
The things about the charters that I don't, with the unknowns, and I'm sure it's all going to be great, but like I don't like the idea of like using fishing rods that aren't mine. Like I like using my rods.
Neither
You know
do
what
I.
You know what I mean? Like it's just like skiing. I'm not going to go rent skis. I have my own snowboard. You know, I mean, that's one of, it's like wearing someone else's underwear. I don't know, kind of weird.
No, great analogy. I don't want to do that either. I want to use my rods. Most charter captains that have a good business know what they're doing. You're going to go out there. You're going to see some of the biggest smallmouth you've ever seen in your life. I'm actually headed up there first weekend in November to fish with my good buddy Tristan Bauer, who's a good friend of Nick Petru's.
He keeps popping up on my suggested friends list on Facebook.
Follow him.
Yeah.
He's a great fisherman, great guy. We should have him on as a guest.
He's
sometime.
a listener too, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Loves the podcast, listen to every episode. I would love to have him on. And this guy, he is a master of the black and blue jig. He builds his own jigs now. I have seen him flip more fish into the boat on that jig. He extracts them surgically from underneath docks and all the places we fish him. But he's just one of those guys that is super deadly with a jig.
Sweet.
He does well in tournaments. He's won a bunch and he's always placing. And he and I have done several tournaments together. We did the first 4 tournaments he and I did with a club that's a little bit west of here. The first 4 tournaments he and I fished together with that club, 3 out of the 4 we got lunker, and 2 of them were his on a big jig, and one of them was mine on a Texas rig worm. So he'd be a great guest to have on. But I'm going up to Ontario with him, and we're bass fishing first weekend in November because we looked at the calendars, and that's the only time we're both available. So I will definitely be talking about that. But what I want you to do, get a good night's sleep, get up at 4 o'clock, drive up there, and tap into your angler within on that river and come back with some great stories. Can you do that?
Giddy up.
Giddy up.